Chapter 171, who'll be the new captain? Upon hearing Hiro's answers, Akiyama Takeuchi smiled a bit as he concluded his question. He was impressed by Hiro's answers and the way Hiro addressed his questions. After that, another reporter rose her hand and started asking her questions. I've read many articles about you, and we all also know that you've already signed contract with an agent from Europe. So my question for you is, are you planning on leaving for Europe in near future? Hearing her senseless question, Hiro wanted to scream crazily. Are you for real, woman? Why would I sign with a foreign agent if I don't want to go abroad? But even so, he refrained himself from screaming. Instead, he continued to maintain his poker face and answered in a sensible way. Who wouldn't want to play in Europe? I doubt if there's any player in this world who hadn't dreamt once to play for club in Europe. His words polite and his face calm. Hiro calmly answered that reporter's question. So do you mean that Japanese football is lacking? As if that reporter was intentionally trying to create a controversy, she ruthlessly attacked Hiro. Manager Makoto, who was standing beside Hiro, could tell what she was intending to do. Thus, he was about to step in. But just as he was about to step in, Hiro answered with the same demeanor and tone as before. Japanese football is evolving, and maybe in near future, we could also rival the top leagues of the world. Suddenly, his voice changed a bit and his facial expression turned cold. But if you're comparing J-League of now to the top 5 league of Europe, then I must say it is indeed no way near top leagues. And I believe every single one of you among here would share the same feelings. Hiro's words were very straight, and there wasn't even a hint of hesitation on his face when he said those words. While Hiro was making himself clear, for a while surrounding aura around him had changed. And for a while, the reporters felt like they were interviewing a professional player instead of a kid who has barely set his foot onto the professional stage. The reporters in front, as silent as the night sky, they were all flabbergasted by Hiro's answers. Even the lady reporter, who was deliberately trying to create controversies, had her mouth shut after hearing Hiro's answers. Manager Makoto, who was standing beside Hiro, was also somewhat shocked by Hiro's way of handling such controversial questions. Looks like he wouldn't require any training to face interviews. Smiling meekly, Manager Makoto revealed a satisfied expression. After that, the interview progressed smoothly without any problems. And as for that lady who was deliberately trying to create controversies, she didn't get any opportunities to ask Hiro another question. Late in the night, while Hiro was holed up inside his room, Manager Makoto, along with few other coaches, were discussing something inside Manager Makoto's office. How can we send one of our star player? What is Manager Aniki thinking about? Coach Kensuke's wrinkled face wrinkled even more as he erupted furiously. Manager Makoto, who was silently sitting at his seat, was looking like he was trying to think something. But it's the order from the higher-ups. We have no choice but to do as they say, answered Coach Fuji while trying to calm Coach Kensuke. But with Tatsuki gone, what will we do if our form deteriorates? We have already lost Tomoyasu. But now you want to send another of our captain away? Although Kenta is somewhat okay. But he doesn't have the required leadership skills to lead other players. He doesn't have that decision-making skill. Plus, he also lacks personality to be a leader. Coach Kensuke made his point clear. Since Tatsuki was being called by the senior team, and their first-choice captain Tomoyasu was also injured, the coaches were debating about Tatsuki's senior call-up. And just by listening to the words of Kensuke, it was clear that Kensuke wasn't willing to let go of Tatsuki. However, Coach Fuji, on the other hand, who was a rule follower, although reluctant, was supporting Tatsuki's departure. Since youth coaches couldn't deny the order of senior coaches, Coach Fuji was simply following the rule. What about Minato and Nakahara? They're good candidates to replace Tatsuki as the captain. Manager Nozomi presented his opinion. Hearing Manager Nozomi's opinion, Coach Kensuke sneered. Minato? Seriously? He can't even pull his own shit. How can he lead others? And Nakahara? He's way too aggressive. He'll only create problems if we let him become the captain. Then what about Shun? He has previously captained the U-15 team. He's a good candidate, replied Coach Fuji in a calming tone. Maybe after this year, he might be suitable. But for now, he's out of the picture. Still somewhat grumpy, Kensuke refused to agree with the suggestion of Coach Fuji. Finally, just as Kinsuke finished his sentence, Manager Makoto broke his silence. Then what about Hiro? He plays well. He's also cool-headed, and I believe he even have that leadership qualities in him. Hearing Makoto's suggestion, Kinsuke went into a state of trance for a while as he began to ponder. And as Coach Kinsuke quieted down, an eerie silence engulfed the entire office room. In somewhat doubtful way, Coach Fuji was the first one to break that silence. But what about his age? Isn't he too young for such heavy responsibility? You're concerned about his age? Asked Makoto in a surprising tone. If it's his age that you're concerned about, then I assure you, he's way mature than anyone else in our squad. Replying such with a determined look on his face, Manager Makoto took assurance of Hiro's age. Makoto then turned towards Kinsuke, who was still pondering something. And as he turned towards him, Makoto spoke, "You were with me at the time of interview. Do you think that he's childish?" Coach Kinsuke, who also happened to observe Hiro's interview close hand earlier, was out of words. Although he was hesitant to appoint someone so young to be the captain of the U18 team, he was also aware of Hiro's personality. And personally, he too believed that Hiro had leadership qualities in him. But even so, just like other coaches, he too was concerned about Hiro's age. Seeing Coach Kinsuke's reluctance to speak, Manager Makoto added, "Let's give him a chance. Has his age been a problem for us till now? In fact, despite being the youngest in the league, he has performed way better than most players in the league. So let's give him a chance. I have a feeling that he can become a great leader." Hearing Makoto's insistence on appointing Hiro as the new captain of the team, Coach Kinsuke finally heaved a sigh of relief as he let go of his worries. He then finally loosened his stiff body and face. After that, he nodded his head and agreed to the suggestion made by Manager Makoto. "I agree. He's our best candidate. He's calm. He makes quick decisions. He's not easily provoked, and moreover, the players trust him. And he's also the most skilled player in our squad. So let's give him a chance." Chapter 172, Ambipedal. Comfortably lying on his bed, Hiro was skimming through the system while his coaches were discussing about the appointment of new team captain in Manager Makoto's office. If I could draw some amazing talent like before, I would become unstoppable. Mumbling such with a smile on his face, Hiro mused at the thought of obtaining some rare talents. And while he was musing on such thoughts, the roulette wheel which was spinning in front of his eyes finally stopped as it landed on a platinum-colored card. Witnessing the color of the card, Hiro mistook the color of the card as silver and assumed that he had drawn something insignificant than the previous talent he had drawn, which was Kevin De Bruyne's passing sense, a gold-colored card. His smile faded away as he witnessed the color of the card. Thus, out of disappointment, he clicked his tongue. "TCH, I have probably drawn something insignificant." Then again he shrugged as he opened the card without much expectations. "Congratulations, host, for obtaining Talent Ambipedal." Talent Ambipedal S. As the name suggests, you'll be able to use both of your feet equally well. And to top it off, your both legs will be able to execute the same shooting power as your current strong foot. Note, this skill cannot be upgraded further. Upon seeing the text in front of his eyes, Hiro couldn't help but feel flabbergasted. His eyes opened wide, and his facial expression similar to that of a person who was high on marijuana. Hiro was utterly shocked by the talent he had drawn that he wasn't even being able to reciprocate his inner feelings. After a few seconds, he rapidly blinked his eyes and vigorously rubbed his eyes to test if he was seeing things. But the text in the screen remained the same, no matter how many times he rubbed his eyes. "Ambipedal," murmured Hiro in a state of daze. Although there are few ambipedal players in the footballing world, not every single ambipedal player could execute the same shooting power in both their legs. Even Heung-min Son, who's one of the famous two-footed players in the world, has more goals from his right foot than from his left foot. In fact, despite being bipedal, the shooting power in his left foot lacks comparably to the shooting power in his right foot. And while ambipedal players were already rare in football world, the talent Hiro drew also enabled him to shoot with the same power regardless of the foot he used, which was a great advantage. Considering that he could already shoot the ball at a speed of more than 90 kilometers per hour with his right foot, which was already on par with few professional players playing in Europe's top 5 league. And although Hiro could still relatively use both of his feet well, he still couldn't shoot the ball with the same power from his left foot as he could with his right foot. Thus, what amused him the most was the fact that by using that talent, he could finally get rid of one of his major weaknesses. Finally, as Hiro accepted the reality that he had drawn such an amazing talent, his face brightened as his brows and corner of mouth lifted up. Feeling very excited, he laughed maniacally and suddenly yelled in ecstasy, forgetting that the sky outside of his room had turned pitch black. Ha ha! Now I'm freaking unstoppable. No one can stop me now. Ha ha! In a state of excitement, he completely went crazy for a while. And if anybody happened to be in his room at that moment, they would have probably assumed that Hiro was either mad or got possessed by spirits. In a worst-case scenario, they would have phoned mental hospital. Hiro's excited roars, which reverberated all over the hostel building, scared few of the players. Yikes! Has Hiro gone crazy? Few players who were staying in the room next to us spoke out of trepidation. Who's laughing and yelling like this at this moment of time? Questioned Tatsuki as he paused his evening stretches. Shun, who was already asleep and was sleeping like he had sold all his worries, didn't even react. And while most of the players were either scared or confused, coaches in Manager Makoto's office, who had just finished their discussion about the appointment of new team captain, had slightly different reaction. They were pissed. Which idiot is yelling at this time? Flaring his nostrils, Coach Kensuke mumbled furiously as he heard the maniacal laughter which was reverberating all over the hostel building. Upon realizing that he was yelling crazily and it was still dark outside, Hiro immediately shut his mouth out of fear and embarrassment. What was I thinking? It's late in the night, thought Hiro while covering his mouth with his hands. But again, he cheered up at the thought that he had drawn such an amazing talent. And as he cheered up, he laughed meekly. He then immediately activated the talent he had drawn at that moment. And just as he activated his talent, he felt a wriggling sensation in his legs. As if something was happening inside his legs, he felt like small insects were running inside his leg. Especially his left leg, it felt really hot for some moment. Although it didn't hurt him, he still felt quite weird. What's happening? What's this unusual sensation? Confusedly asked Hiro to himself as he touched his legs. Finally, after a while, the sensation faded away as his leg muscle stopped wriggling further. He then began to lightly stretch his legs, fearing the lingering consequences which he might suffer. But as he began to stretch his legs lightly, nothing happened. There were no abnormal sensation or pain in his leg. In fact, his legs felt a lot lighter than usual. As if he had just taken of about 5 kilograms weight from his legs, he felt a lot lighter. Hiro then carefully stepped out of his bed to turn on the lights. Click! And just as he turned the lights on, the whole room got illuminated as the darkness faded away. Hiro then began to examine his legs. His leg muscles were a lot more well-defined as compared to before, especially the calf muscles and thigh muscles. They were a lot more well-defined than last time. Chapter 173, Famous Again. Seeing the changes in his leg muscles, Hiro couldn't refrain himself from testing his newly obtained talent. Thus, even at that late in the night, he started to jump and perform several leg exercises. And for some reason, he even felt that he was jumping much higher than before. But since he had never really recorded his jumps, he wasn't sure if his jumping power had increased. If only I have a ball with me right now, I could have tested my feel on the ball, mumbled Hiro while heaving a sigh of disappointment. Then again, as if something perked inside him, he raised his head as he began to walk towards his table. He then took a notebook out of his school bag. After that, he began to tear some papers from his notebook. And as he tore quite a few paper from his notebook, he scraped one of the paper and began to roll it in the shape of a ball. Layering other papers over that small roll of paper, he made a paper ball about the size of a tennis ball. Having empty notebooks sure comes in handy at times, murmured Hiro while staring at the paper ball, which he was holding in his hands with a look of pride in his eyes. He was quite proud of his thinking. After that, he began to juggle the ball. At first, he found it quite difficult to juggle that small paper ball, which weighed way less than a tennis ball. Plus, the rough edges around the paper ball was making it bounce irregularly which made it hard for Hiro to control the ball. "It's a lot harder than what I've imagined," murmured Hiro as he was having trouble controlling the bounce of the ball. "Just controlling this paper ball is hard enough. I wonder how hard it would be to juggle your boots. Messi made it look so easy," mumbled Hiro while recalling a video which he had seen in his previous life where Messi was comfortably juggling his boots. After a while of trying, perspiration ran down his forehead while he was still trying to control the bounce of the paper ball. His breathing a little irregular and his face a bit flushed, his eyes were sharply focused at the paper ball in his legs. Finally, for the first time in 15 minutes, he was able to juggle the ball for more than 50 times. Alternating his legs, he was now juggling the ball with ease. And as he could get a feel of the paper ball, he finally could perform tricks with the paper ball, just like how he can perform tricks with regular ball. After a while of playing with the paper ball, Hiro finally stopped. That constant need to concentrate on the paper ball had completely drained his energy. And for some reason, he felt very tiresome as he sat down on his bed. Maybe there's some improvement in my stats. Thinking about his stats, he then began to check his stats. While checking his stats, he noticed that apart from his mentality, IQ, and vision attribute, all of his other attribute had risen by a point or more. Especially shooting and passing, they had risen by 2 points. "Sweet," murmured Hiro while looking at the improvement in his stats. "With this kind of progress, I'm sure I'll become a world-class player in no time. If I debut at the age of 18 for a club in Europe, will I be able to compete against Mbappe and Haaland? With the departure of Messi and Ronaldo, they'll turn into absolute beasts. Not to mention how fast Erling Haaland will break goal-scoring records of both Messi and Ronaldo. If I'm not wrong, Erling Haaland's breakthrough should be next year." Thinking about the stuffs from future, he started to contemplate. Hiro was quite happy about his progress in recent days. "Damn, I wish FIFA didn't bring that rule which allowed clubs to sign foreign player only after the age of 18. If not for that rule, I would have already gone to Europe. And maybe like Lamine Yamal, I too would have debuted in the age of 15 for a club in Europe." While creating such fake scenarios inside his head, Hiro fell asleep. The next day when he arrived at the school, he was immediately swarmed by the students of his school because of his interview. The post-match interview which he gave yesterday had gone viral and was all over the internet. Especially the part with the lady reporter, it had attracted unusually large amount of peoples. Some small-time YouTuber who happened to be at the scene had posted the video of the interview on his YouTube channel by making some flashy edits. And that video alone had blown up in the internet, crossing the threshold of more than 300K views. That video was trending on YouTube and few other social media platforms. Some people had even started making meme out of that video, which in turn had boosted the reach of the video. Ultimately, with that interview, Hiro had once again risen to fame. Overnight, he had once again turned into internet celebrity. "Just when I thought I could study peacefully, I'm famous again," sighed Hiro while thinking about the earlier encounter with the students of his school. Currently, he was inside his classroom and a history teacher was lecturing while standing in front of the lectern. "Then again, I don't actually study. Haha." While thinking such, Hiro let out a subtle smile. His smiling gesture was caught by the teacher in front. "Takahashi, Hiro, am I telling a joke right now?" Staring at Hiro, the teacher coldly questioned him. The teacher's voice made him nervous as he started to panic. Hiro then hurriedly stood up and apologized. "Sorry, sir, I wasn't paying attention to your lecture. My mind was wandering elsewhere." Upon hearing Hiro's sincere apology, the teacher in front released a sigh as he politely answered, "I know you're thinking about that interview. I too have seen it, and I know because of that interview, you're getting unusual amounts of attention. But still, you shouldn't act absent-minded in class. You're still a student, and as much as football is important to you, you still shouldn't neglect your studies as well. After all, I'm sure you plan on going abroad, and for that, you probably need to learn language of that country. And the better you are at studies, the faster you can learn and adjust. So focus a little on your studies as well." His words polite and his suggestion considerate, Hiro could feel the goodwill of his teacher. Thus, he once again bowed his head and apologized to the teacher for his misbehavior. And as he refocused his attention on the lecture, he began to contemplate. teachers telling the right thing. I should focus on my studies as well. Chapter 1, 74 Sunday Match. July 19th, 2022. Kanagawa Prefectural Hodogaya Park Soccer Field. Inside a stadium packed with 100 or more peoples, a match was taking place in full swing between Kawasaki Frontale U18 and Yokohama F. Marinos U18. With only 10 minutes left on the clock, the scoreboard read as such: Kawasaki Frontale U18 4 and Yokohama F. Marinos U18 2. Since the match was taking place in weekend and the venue was a community soccer field which was easily accessible to any people, apart from the fans of both the teams, normal people, such as school students, elderly people, were also present in the stadium to enjoy the match. People who had come with their families were also present in the stadium to enjoy some quality time with their loved ones. After slightly lifting his head to look at the ball, which was levitating in the air, Hiro sprinted forward towards the opposing goalpost. An impressive long pass by Akihiro. But will Hiro be able to reach the ball? Perspiration falling off his forehead like droplets of rain pouring down from the rain clouds. Hiro was dashing forward while making use of his skill, lightning steps. And this was already his second time using that skill in that day. After figuring out the loophole in the system, he had once again activated the skill Perseverance, first before activating the skill Lightning Steps, again to reduce the chances of injury. While the defenders of Yokohama were blocking his path in front, midfielders and forwards of Yokohama were reluctantly chasing him from behind him. Even so, no one in the pitch was able to match his speed. While most normal fans were enjoying the sight of Hiro chasing after the ball with smiles on their faces, fans of Kawasaki and fans of Yokohama had different reactions. While the faces of fans of Yokohama displayed trepidation, faces of fans of Kawasaki showed a glimpse of anxiousness and expectation. Expecting Hiro to reach the ball before it went out of bounds, they were anxiously following Hiro's movements while holding on to their breaths. The scorching summer heat, which was at its peak, was causing them to sweat profusely. But even so, they seemed unbothered by the summer heat. Hiro, on the other hand, was completely focused. Even while making that run, his sharp eyes were focused at the spot where he had predicted that the ball would fall. Skimming through the defenders of Yokohama like wind passing through the gaps of the mountains, Hiro was swiftly evading defenders of Yokohama while also making his run. And since the ball was heading outside the penalty box of Yokohama F. Marinos, Yokohama's keeper was hesitating to leave his position. Just then, as the ball was about to fall a little in front the goal line at the left corner, Hiro slightly lifted his left leg and tapped the ball before it touched the ground. And as the ball bounced off his foot, Hiro immediately spun and turned around. The ball, which bounced off Hiro's left foot, bounced over his head and also over the head of the right back who was behind him. After spinning about 180 degrees, Hiro then once again lightly touched the ball as he began to dribble the ball towards the goalpost. What an amazing move by Hiro. The ball simply flew over Yuma's head, and he didn't even realize. Sharply staring at Hiro, who was cutting in at the moment, Yokohama's keeper was as vigilant as ever. And while Hiro was moving the ball forward, one of the defenders of Yokohama was rushing towards him, while the two other defenders were positioning themselves inside the penalty box. Dribbling the ball along the outer edge of the penalty box, Hiro was trying to find himself a suitable location to shoot the ball. Just when he was at one corner of the penalty box, he was faced with Yokohama's defender who was rushing towards him. With no changes in his facial expression, Hiro slightly touched the ball with the outside of his right foot and dribbled past that defender. Upon witnessing Hiro dribbling past his team's defender who was supposed to stop Hiro, Yokohama's keeper sensed a sudden danger. His intuition was telling him that Hiro was going to make his shot. Thus, he who was already vigilant was now even more vigilant than before. He'll probably shoot with the right foot. After all, he'll have to change his direction if he want to shoot with the left foot. And behind him, there's already two of our defenders. So it's definitely going to be right. In a split second, Yokohama's keeper deduced Hiro's future actions based on his observations. And he was indeed right too. Since Hiro was moving toward the right, it was easier for Hiro to shoot with his right foot. And he would have done exactly as predicted by the keeper under normal circumstances. But now that he was ambidextrous and he could shoot equally well and equally powerful with both his foots, he no longer had to perform as per others' prediction. Also, even after obtaining the talent ambipedal, Hiro had rarely revealed his cards. And although he had scored a couple of goals with his left foot, his goal tally still tilted more towards his right foot. Thus, because of such reasons, people normally assumed that although he was good with both legs, he was still right-footed. But just as Yokohama's keeper was about to dive, Hiro shot the ball with the outside of his left foot instead. The ball in turn curled towards the top right corner, swiftly evading the reach of one of the center back present inside the box. It flew towards the top right corner. Yokohama's keeper, who had predicted that Hiro was going to shoot from his right leg, was caught off guard. Thus, because of that, his reaction was delayed. But even so, he dived towards the top right corner in hopes of saving the ball. Due to the unusual spin on the ball's trajectory curved as it landed at top right corner of the post. Gulo Chapter 175 Summer Vacation. And as the ball landed inside the post, the anxious fans of Kawasaki suddenly burst into cheers as they rose from their seats. Hiro, clap, 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 rhythmically clapping their hands while shouting Hiro's name as if they were singing. A bunch of teenage kids gathered at one section of the stadium began to cheer as they witnessed the goal score by Hiro. They also held a bright blue-colored banner with large black letters written on it. The letter as a whole read Pride of Kawasaki Middle School Takahashi Hiro. Those kids are the students of Kawasaki Middle School. See, I told you that it's going to be fun. Excitedly spoke Rin while celebrating Hiro's goal. Masao, who was happily rooting for Hiro, replied while still celebrating Hiro's goal. Thank you for bringing me here. There was a hint of gratitude in Masao's words. And unlike the time when he used to get bullied, the current smile on his face reflected a sense of genuineness. Their loud cheers, which reverberated all over the stadium, didn't go unnoticed as Hiro too ran towards the section of the stand where they were cheering for him to celebrate his goal along with them. Raising his hands above his head, Hiro waved his hands back and forth as if he was some kind of celebrity greeting his fans. The stadium sure is lively today, especially those kids who are celebrating Hiro's goal at the East Stand. If I'm not wrong, they should probably be the students of Kawasaki Middle School, which means they're Hiro's schoolmates. It's really a blessing to have such passionate supporters. The joyous celebration lasted for a while, and as the celebration ended and all of the players returned back to their original position, referee blew his whistle and resumed the match. With the score of 5-2, Kawasaki was currently winning the game. I doubt Yokohama could make a comeback now. Even to tie the game, they'll have to score 3 goals in less than 15 minutes. Although that much time is a lot, it'll still take Yokohama a considerable amount of effort to score 3 goals in such a short period of time. And I don't believe Kawasaki will let down their guard. Even at this moment, they look as sharp as ever. For the next 13 minutes, Yokohama desperately tried to score some goals. But all of their attempts were futile against Kawasaki's impenetrable defense. And thus, the game ended with a score of 5-2. Kawasaki easily defended their lead as they went on to win the game with a huge goal difference. Beep, beep, beep. With this, Kawasaki Frontale U18 has extended their winning streak to 11. And they're the only team in the league to do so. Not only have they not lost a single game, they also haven't drawn a single game. Till now, they've simply gone undefeated. Comfortably sitting at the top of the table, they're dominating the league. And if this same form continues, then I doubt they'll lose even a single point this season. They could very well create a new history. As mentioned by the commentator, Hiro's team had yet to lose or draw a match. Even after the departure of Tatsuki to senior team, Hiro's team were still winning the game under Hiro's tutelage. Maturely handling every situation like a real leader, Hiro had proved his leadership qualities from the very first day. And although there were quite few players in the team who were not happy with coach's decision on appointing Hiro as the new captain, most of the players in the squad readily accepted him as the captain from the very first day he was appointed the new team captain. And since it was manager Makoto who was the first one to suggest appointing Hiro as the new captain of U18 team, His head was literally in the clouds. Overjoyed with happiness, he was embracing his players with a big, wide smile on his face while running wild in the pitch at the moment. Flinging his long coat, he was acting as if he had lost his mind. Seems like Manager Makoto is really happy with his team's progress. That smile on his face reveals everything about him. Letting out an awkward laughter, commentator commented about Manager Makoto's victory celebration. And while Manager Makoto and few other players were celebrating their victory, Hiro and few other players of Kawasaki were currently in front of East Stand, where kids of Kawasaki Middle School were singing joyously. After celebrating for a while, Hiro began to gather his other teammates to thank their supporters for their support. Senior Minato, Senior Nakahara, please help me gather all the players. Asking for the help of his seniors, Hiro asked Minato and Nakahara to help him gather all of his teammates. Minato and Nakahara nodded their head and stormed towards the far side of the pitch where the reserve players were gathered. And while they were gone, Hiro began to gather the players close to him. Everyone gather around. Everyone gather around. While shouting such, he began to gather his teammates. And as they all gathered, they all headed towards the East Stand. Upon reaching close to the East Stand, they all bowed their head down to show their gratitude. Clap, clap, clap. Moving along the stands, they continued to express their gratitude to all the fans present in the venue. Finally, as they finished thanking all the fans for their support, in a single file, they walked towards the opposing players to exchange handshakes with them. And as they finished expressing their gratitude, they all began to slowly head towards the tunnel. While on their way, Shun took his gloves off as he spoke to Hiro. So you'll be heading home tomorrow? Hiro ruefully nodded his head as he continued to make his way towards the tunnel. Although he was happy to go home after so long, he was a little sad to leave his friends with whom he had spent his time for almost about a year. Even though it was only for a month, he was used to life in Kawasaki's hostel. So leaving Kawasaki for about a month for summer vacation still made him somewhat sad. Smack! After almost about a year, you're finally heading home. So why are you making that long face? Playfully hitting Hiro on his back, Shun tried to cheer him. Forcing a smile on his face, Hiro exchanged looks with Shun. What about you? Won't you miss hostel food, friends, and training? Ha! Why would I miss such things? I can finally chase after girls freely for a month. Why would I be sad? Cheerfully answered Shun. There wasn't even a hint of sadness in his voice. His face as cheerful as ever. Shun was genuinely happy to head home. Although I might miss you guys occasionally, added Shun, his voice a little softer than before. His eyes also felt a little heavier.